You're being sued by Midland Credit Management, Portfolio Recovery, Asset Acceptance, LVNV Funding, Sherman Acquisition, Sherman Financial, Velocity, American Express, Capital One, assignee of Discover Card, Barclays, or any original creditor or debt collector. You're going to want to listen to this video. It is very imperative that if you're being served a debt collection summons, you have less time than you think. Most people freeze, ignore the papers, and lose. That's called a default judgment if you don't do anything about it, and that can destroy your bank account, your paycheck, and peace of mind. But it doesn't have to end that way. Let me tell you about some of the news that I was able to look up online. In the state of North Dakota, currently, they are at a level of 80% default judgments. 80%. That means that 80% of the people, and they had 33,893 lawsuits up to now. 27,221 people did not show up and got default judgment. Connecticut at 61%, Denver at 60%, Philadelphia 38%, Maricopa County 36%, Missouri 32%, Harris County 22%. Right now in 2025, the frequency ranges from 20% to 80% on people getting default judgments. Default judgments means, this is what a default judgment means, because I don't think that people clarify this enough. A default judgment means that everything that they put on that summons, everything they put in that summons, all of those allegations, unjust enrichment, that you took the money and didn't want to pay the money back, anything that they can throw in there, they throw the whole kitchen sink at you. These are all allegations. If it's true or not true, and you do not respond, your default judgment means that all of that stuff was true. And then you give them access, permission legally to harass you up to 20 years to collect on that. A lot of people will say, well, I don't have anything now. I don't have no money. I don't have no money in the bank. I don't have no assets. They say all of that stuff as if your life can never be better over the next 20 years. So that means that if you just have that mindset that I don't have nothing and they're not going to get nothing, they can sit back and just watch your credit reports by using skip tracing technology. You can go to TransUnion to see what I'm talking about with that. It's called skip tracing. So as you move forward through life and your life gets better, you get a better job, that's reported through skip tracing. You come into some money, that's reported through skip tracing. Anything that you do in life is going to be reported through skip tracing, and they have 20 years to sit there and sit back on it. Now, if they were just depending on you to get the money, that might be, not a good deal, because to wait 20 years, and if they're only looking at collecting from you, no. But they're doing this for millions of people. One of the debt collectors reported over $1 billion in profit in 2024. $1 billion, over $1 billion. They're in the business of suing people, putting information in there to make the judge believe that you just didn't want to pay them. Like nothing disrupted in your life. You just did not want to pay these people. You unjustly enriched yourself. I'm going to do a video about the term unjust enrichment. So watch for that video. So they want the judge to believe all of that stuff, and then you don't go into court, and the judge has no other alternative than to believe what they say, because they're the only ones that showed up and you did not defend yourself. You have to defend yourself, and it is a lot easier than you think if it's done the right way. Now, there's stuff out there, ChatGPT, all of this different stuff. It's, if you ever went to a casino and rolled the dice, that's what you're doing with ChatGPT. That's what you're doing with someone who does not understand this business here. It is very important. So I'm going to give you some nuggets real quick. when you are being sued and they're serving you at your door, they're serving you at the door before you even look at the piece of paper, how did you feel? How did you feel? If you haven't been served yet, or you're just watching this video so you can prepare yourself in the future because you know you got some stuff out there. Police officer, sheriff, or unidentified individual with a badge, or someone who just comes there to your house with some sort of official badge on them, and they knock on your door and they ask if you are the individual, and they hand you the paper and say you're served. Before you read the paper, how do you feel? Before you even read the paper, how would you feel? This is very important. This is why a lot of attorneys even get this wrong. Because when you are being sued, it doesn't matter what type of case it is. The number one job that an attorney will do, or the number one feeling that they'll utilize against you, is to get into your feelings first. Because if they can get into your feelings first, you are more than likely going to freeze or not do anything. I've talked about this in previous videos. I've had a judge, I've had a court reporter, I've had a Secret Service agent, multiple police officers who are familiar with court. But when they got served and they were sued, all bets were off and they defaulted to their emotions. This is the first step in you being able to fight back in your lawsuit, is that you have to reverse those emotions back on the plaintiff attorney. And there's a certain way to do that. And if you could do that, you would have already even leveled the playing field. You would have leveled the playing field. They make you feel a certain way, you make them feel a certain way. And there's a technique to doing that. And I figured it out over time. I've been doing this for 6 years. And you wouldn't believe how when you do that to an attorney, they're not used to getting in the weeds and fighting. They're used to just running over people. And you get them in the weeds, and then you see how they start to react. There's a specific way to do that. So if we're talking about over 60% of all debt lawsuits in a default judgment, that's simply because people just did not respond. Debt collectors don't even have to prove anything. They just win. They get your money, they get your wages, they can get into your bank account, they can take assets. All of this happens without you saying a single word because you didn't file a response. You didn't do anything. And a lot of that happens because people think, because I don't have nothing now, I'm not going to have nothing then. Or I think people say that and they don't really understand what they're saying. Just because you're going through stuff right now don't mean that your life isn't going to get better. Now, for some of you, if that's your thinking and your thought process, I can't help you. But for you who feel that you want to have a better life, like every day you're striving for a better life, better job, education, starting a business, fixing your credit, want to be better in a better place than you are right now. You don't want to have your kids having to take care of you when you get older. You don't want to be a burden on them. You want to be an example to your kids now that are growing up and they say, oh, my parents didn't tell me to do something. They showed me. They showed me. And I'm not talking about you. I've made mistakes. You've made mistakes. I'm not talking about something like that. What I'm talking about is, as a matter of fact, let me back up a little. The mistakes you make in life and the way that you go forward to overcome those mistakes, our children see that also. They don't just pay attention to the good stuff that you say or do. They actually learn how to deal with life by the way that you keep yourself together when you're going through the hard stuff. It's easy to go through the easy, the happy times, that's easy. But what about when it gets rough? Like when my wife and I were going through our debt problems in 1994, $300,000 in debt, and we're only the age of 24 years old, started our first business and had success, and then all of a sudden, because we didn't learn about credit and debt growing up from our parents, we didn't have very good examples on that, and we found ourselves where we made pretty good money as 20-year-olds, almost, it was over 100,000 a year at the age of 24, but finding ourselves $300,000 in debt. So we went from not having money to having money to being overloaded with debt, and it took us 5 years to get out of that. But we still married today, going on 37 years, or 36 years, going on 36 years. And what we did, and I believe that all of our children learned this, and we didn't even have to tell them, is that we just kept working through it. It took us 5 years, and our kids saw us stick together, and we did it, and it took us 5 years. And yes, we got sued. And what I'm talking about here to help you with getting sued, I didn't have that. I did not have something like what I'm going to share with you in a minute. I didn't have that. Attorneys, some people say, well, go to an attorney. Let me go ahead and put a little, let me highlight it for you. Here's the reason why attorneys don't want to get involved in this, is because, number one, and we hear it all the time. Well, my attorney friend just filled this out for me. They did a favor, this and that. They did a favor because if they did it and you were their client, they would have to represent you. But they'll do favors all the time. But after that, it's all over. They ain't going to go any further than that. They'll just, try to see what they can do. But let me tell you the reason why attorneys don't get involved with debt collector lawsuit cases. And it is totally logical when I tell you this. Number one, they're going to work by the hour. Any attorney worth their salt is going to bill you by the hour. And if they're going to do the type of research that we know from experience, it's going to take them about 20 to 30 hours. 20 to 30. If they're not specializing in this, it's going to be 20 to 30 hours. On average, $110 to $150 per hour. From what I saw and why I actually did put this together, and I used to have attorneys at work, where I contracted out for them, and paralegals where I contracted out. And the amounts that they were charging was astronomical. And because I was bringing them a lot of business, they had lowered it a little, but it was still astronomical. But on average, it was about $2,500 to take care of, if you just send them one client, $2,500. If they're going to take them all the way from start to finish. Now, check this out. What usually will happen is that they're going to say, number one, they can't even go into court and say some of the things that you will be able to say by representing yourself. But they usually will start to point you towards doing a settlement. And that's because, number one, they're not going to keep taking your money to sit there going back and forth in court, where it's just going to end up being a settlement. And that's mainly because they're not able to fight the way that I'm going to share with you on how you can fight. They're not going to go up against another attorney and try to make another attorney feel a certain way. Now, the top attorneys, we talking about like Johnny Cochran and all of them, you've seen that happen before with these top attorneys. They're not afraid to make another attorney feel a certain way. But regular attorneys, mid-level, above average level, it's going to be buddy-buddy in there. It's going to be buddy-buddy with them, buddy-buddy with the judge. And that already makes the scale tilt towards the plaintiff already. But now, so they are not going to sit there and say, okay, your case is, let's just say it's $15,000. They charge you $2,500 to go in there, and then you end up getting having to go for settlement because they didn't defend it the way that you want. We've heard that a lot, where it'd be like, man, that attorney, if they would have just went at it harder, I could have won this case. That's what happened to me with that $100,000 case. If they would have just done their job, I would have won that case. I had to settle that case for $43,000 if they would have just did the research. But no, they push a lot towards the settlement. And then the other thing is that if you can't afford to pay that amount, they got to pay these, some of them paid $200,000-$300,000 to go through law school. And they're not going to be able to make that on cases that are a couple of $100 here and there. That's not the way that they're going to do it. They're going to want big cases. And then another thing that I found out is that when a big company You ever heard conflict of interest? Big companies, big corporations, big banks, lenders, they can job out to a big firm, and that big firm jobs out to smaller attorneys to do some work for them. They don't want to be mixed up in that conflict of interest, because if they represent you, then they can't go and get the big money from doing some of the side work for the larger firms. So that's like one of the other big reasons. So I think, like, really the bottom line is that you deserve to be able to fight 100%. When I talk to clients and they're asking, well, do I have a chance to get it dismissed? And, what'll happen if it doesn't get dismissed? And we take them through the process where we're like, hey, first thing, you gotta, accept that you're being served, and accept that you got to do something about it. And then by doing the response, it's going to you're going to have a feeling of power. You're going to have this feeling of you're fighting back, you're doing something. But then the other thing that I think is very important in it, and is kind of overlooked, when you are, let's just say, for example, you're getting sued for, $5,000, and you want to have a chance at winning. One of the things that a lot of people will focus on is they're focusing on how much it'll cost them to be able to fight back. And like they're focused on that amount. And a lot of times they're like trying to be cheap, or they're, why, like, you really should focus on getting the best quality work done. And you could do your research on the companies who have been able to achieve that. We have our testimonials and results from the cases that have resulted in dismissals for very high dollar amounts. The largest is $141,000. And but so and then you should also understand, if you're being sued for $5,000, that if you lose, it's not going to be the small amount if you lose and don't do anything, it's not going to be that small amount. It's going to be the whole $5,000. And I try to get that point across when I'm making my videos or talking to customers, is that if you want to be able to fight, like, to really be able to put up a fight, and you should fight hard first. You should not go into a fight halfway. If you're going to fight your lawsuit, if you want to have a chance to win, you have to go in it fully and give yourself a chance to win. You can't go in, 1 foot going the other direction, like you're going to lose. You always have other options as the case goes through the process. But the first thing is that you need to have a defense to win your case. You can't have a defense to win your case if you do nothing. You can't have a possibility of winning your case if you just deny everything. That's not going to work. It's not going to work. I don't care what some people say, what other softwares or stuff that's sitting out there. You got to put up a case, and part of putting up that case is to make that attorney who said all of those things, all of those bad things about you, feel a certain way. So that's why I created Summons Master. It's the first system online that will create a professionally legal response against debt collection lawsuits. Fast, easy, accurate. No, you don't have to learn anything. You only have to do one thing, really, is you got to make your files into a PDF. If you can do that, you can utilize it. If you can't do that, we can help you do that, because we want to make sure that you don't just let this go. So once you create your PDF file, and all you need is your summons, and you upload that into Summons Master, and you click if it's an original creditor lawsuit or a debt collector lawsuit. No other company, no other program. It's not available nowhere. Not ChatGPT, not any other software, not any other companies. No one does it this way. We are very unique. No one does it this way. If it's a debt collector lawsuit, we create the summons response a certain way. If it's an original creditor lawsuit, we create it a certain way. And we have helped people get cases dismissed with both. Yes, with original creditors. So you don't have to answer any questions. You don't have to do anything, learn anything, nothing. All you got to do is just make it a PDF file and upload it right in the Summons Master. And it'll create a fully formatted response to every allegation and a defense to help you win your case. And we will be with you from start to finish as your case works through the process. We will be there for you from start to finish. You have our phone number. Other companies, they're not going to offer you a phone number. They don't want to talk to you. Trust me. You have our phone number. You have our contact information. We really do this. We don't just make videos about it. We really want to be in this business to help people. We've been doing it for 6 years, getting ready to go on 7 years, helping people just like you. So if you're being sued by debt collector, go to summonsmaster.com. Link is below this video. And you can upload your documents, get a fully formatted response to every allegation, and a defense to help you win the case and to help you make the attorney feel a certain way about the way that they brought that case against you. If you need help with your credit, please visit us at thecreditrepairshop.com. Watch video What Makes Us Different so you can see my 8-point validation process, my 2-phase settlement process. If you need your credit reports and scores, go to the website your3scores.com to grab your TransUnion, Equifax, Experian credit reports and all 3 scores. Thank you for your time. Subscribe to the channel. Post your questions and comments. This is Stephen A. Williams, president and founder of thecreditrepairshop.com.